are this afternoon's top stories. One person is in custody in relation to Newton Ground murder. Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party wins general elections, and video confession left by Texas bomber found. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. I am Shaira Flanders. Nationally, one person is in police custody in connection with a recent homicide in Newton Ground. According to police reports on Tuesday, someone was taken into police custody in relation to the murder of Glenville Francis that occurred in Newton Ground on March 16th. This follows news that on Tuesday, two persons were charged in relation to the attempted murder of Ricardo Jeffers in St. Peters. A police statement said the force is ready to follow up on every lead into violent crimes committed in the Federation, and more arrests can be expected as the police anticipate the assistance of the public in finding the perpetrators of violent crimes. As investigations continue, the police are appealing to the public to share information with them. Persons are urged to contact the Violent Crimes Unit at the Bastyr Police Station at 465-2241 or their nearest police station. In other news, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris said that witnessing the expansion of the Explorers movement has been a pleasure. The Prime Minister was at the time addressing children, parents, teachers, police officers and other invited guests at the launch of the St. Paul's Explorers Group at the St. Paul's Primary School on Tuesday. Prime Minister Harris explained that the formation of youth groups in communities in St. Kitts and Nevis is an official initiative of the Ministry of National Security in partnership with the police force. The Prime Minister said it would take all of us to get it right.
It is therefore essential that all sectors of society become involved in activities that are designed to move our precious young children away from the influence of gangs and channel them into more meaningful and positive engagement.
Over 50 children have been attending Explorer meetings, most of whom attend the St. Paul's Primary School. The school's principal, John Gums, says he supports the movement. He says he believes that children need after-school activities and thanked the ministry and the police for bringing the program to the area.
This wave of students that are here with us today, we want to make a difference in their lives. The support that this program provides will be the support that they need in order to make them to be good civic citizens.
Head of the St. Kitts Nevis Defense Force, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Comrie, said that as part of his support for the undertaking, an officer of the SKNDF will be assigned as a liaison officer to the project. The group was formally handed over to Sergeant Ricardo Sampson from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, who will oversee its meetings. He will be assisted by Cassie Mardenborough from Kittition Hill as part of a public-private partnership initiative. In other news, on the national scene, leader of the opposition, the Right Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas, has committed to take under his wing the 2-month-old baby of recently deceased military soldier Jamelia Finch. Finch was killed alongside her sister on March 1st. During a St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party town hall meeting on Tuesday, Dr. Douglas said he intends to, quote, adopt the baby boy. Dr. Douglas said he too lost his mother at a very early age, being just a year old at the time of her passing. He said, quote, I didn't have the privilege of knowing my mother. She died when I was a little over a year, end of quote. According to a media release, Dr. Douglas promised to provide whatever he could for the boy in an effort to keep him comfortable, safe, and well guided because, quote, you never know what this child will eventually turn out to be, end of quote. Moving on to news on the regional scene, the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party has won the 2018 general elections, gaining one more seat in the parliament. The ABLP won 15 seats, United Progressive Party 1 seat, and Barbuda People's Movement 1 seat. The Democratic Alliance did not win any seats. The leaders of both UPP and DNA, who were hoping to become the next Prime Minister, suffered at the polls. Harold Lavelle is the political leader of the UPP, and Joanne Messiah, the leader of the DNA. The duo had a bitter row in recent years and moved from being UPP colleagues to public enemy during the race to see who would become leader. After being expelled from the UPP, Messiah formed the DNA. Out of Guyana, some communities in Georgetown are still not receiving water 24/7. Officials say an aging system needs to be fixed to allow access to new housing schemes. More in this report.
Presently, the GWI is deliberating with government to address a number of issues which are affecting the production aspect of the utility company. And in relation to communities not being able to receive water 24/7, the GWI is blaming this on the system that it has been using for years.
We've come out of a system that is not too well planned, and that is because we haven't got the production. We have new schemes coming up that we have to ensure that as lands are allocated, that we are prepared to have the infrastructure in place together with CHNPA to service those populations.
GWI's Managing Director, Dr. Richard Van West Charles. According to Dr. Van West Charles, fixing this aged system is an ongoing issue, and his company recognizes that it needs to be fixed sooner rather than later, especially given the fact that the housing sector is booming and new communities are being developed rapidly in Guyana.
As you expand housing, then we have to look at the infrastructure that we have to support the growth in human development in those areas. So it's something we are working on, and the issue of redundancy in the system is one of the strategic directions, so that if a well goes down in one village, the connections from the other villages can support the supply to the different populations.
He added that there will be a major transformation of the networking system for GWI, since this problem not only affects the access of potable water to residents, but is also responsible for the company not producing positive results as much as it should to the entire country. Reporting for HGP Nightly News, I am Kristen Macklingam.
On to news on the international scene. Police say they have found concrete evidence a 23-year-old was behind a bombing spree in the U.S. state of Texas by revealing that the bomber's mobile phone had a 25-minute recorded confession detailing each of the 6 explosives he made, leaving them confident none are still waiting to detonate. The suspect, Mark Anthony Condit, steered his car into a ditch and blew himself up on Wednesday. No motive has been identified at this point, according to Austin police. Al Jazeera's John Hendren reports on that story.
After a 3-week manhunt, the Austin package bomber's latest victim was himself. His motive still a mystery.
The suspect is deceased.
In a final confrontation with officers who had tracked him down to a suburban hotel, police say 23-year-old Mark Anthony Condit detonated an explosive, leaving him dead, his parents at a loss to explain, and a series of questions unanswered.
We don't know where this suspect has spent his last 24 hours.
We also have not fully been able to rule out whether or not there were any other accomplices who may be a part of this who still pose a danger.
Police did reveal one surprising discovery. On the bomber's cell phone was a 25-minute recorded confession detailing each of 6 explosives he made, leaving police confident none are still waiting to detonate.
We can account for each and every one of them.
Police say he paired batteries ordered online from Asia with everyday products he bought at a Home Depot store. He turned them into deadly explosives that blew up on doorsteps, on a sidewalk, and most recently in a FedEx shipping center. The blasts left 2 dead, several injured, and a city shaken. Condit's family said in a statement, "We are devastated and broken at the news that our family member could be involved in such an awful way. Our prayers are for those families who have lost loved ones and for the soul of our Mark." The picture of the bomber that emerges from friends, neighbors, and police is of a bookish young man, schooled at home, from a religious family, politically conservative, and opinionated. But so far, nobody can answer the most vexing question. Why did he do it? Police tracked him down using receipts, cell phone records, surveillance video of a disguised man dropping off a package, and witness reports.
In the past 24 to 36 hours, we started getting information on one person of interest that we continued to work on and continue to develop.
Police questioned Condit's two roommates and discovered a telltale bomb assembly room in his suburban Austin home.
I wouldn't call it a bomb-making factory, but there's definitely components consistent with what we've seen in all these other devices.
The search found explosive components. Now what they're looking for is a motive. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Austin, Texas.
The head of Facebook has apologized for a major breach of trust after admitting it mishandled data belonging to 50 million of its users and promised tougher steps to restrict developers' access to such information. Mark Zuckerberg broke his silence to U.S. media 5 days after UK firm Cambridge Analytica was accused of improperly accessing user information to manipulate American voters. Al Jazeera's Heidi Zhao Castro reports from Washington, D.C.
Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like giving interviews, but the pressure on the camera-shy founder and CEO of Facebook was so great, he had to do something. He told the American media he was sorry about the security breach that compromised the private data of 50 million Facebook users. And in a statement, he acknowledged there were failures in Facebook's protection of data. I started Facebook, he writes, and at the end of the day, I'm responsible for what happens on our platform. I'm serious about doing what it takes to protect our community. While this specific issue involving Cambridge Analytica should no longer happen with new apps today, that doesn't change what happened in the past. We will learn from this experience to secure our platform further and make our community safer for everyone going forward. Those steps include a review of all apps that had similarly broad access to user data, further data restrictions, and making it easier for users to rescind permissions. Zuckerberg's carefully choreographed response to the Cambridge Analytica scandal was not what U.S. lawmakers are asking for. They would rather have had Zuckerberg testify in person before Congress. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar has formally asked for a judicial hearing. Zuckerberg says he's happy to testify before Congress if it's the right thing to do. He also says he's sure someone's trying to disrupt this year's midterm elections. Underlying the uproar, the allegation that data harvested from Facebook servers was used by Cambridge Analytica to support the Trump campaign in 2016. Interference in the electoral process confirmed in this undercover interview with the company's then CEO, Alexander Nix.
Have you met Mr. Trump?
Many times.
You have?
We did all the research, all the data, all the analytics, all the targeting. We ran all the digital campaign, the television campaign, and our data informed all the strategy.
Facebook's stocks lost $60 billion in value in the last 5 days, and a delete Facebook hashtag has been trending. But even if the bad publicity blows over, other troubles for the social media giant are just beginning. The Federal Trade Commission has opened an investigation into Facebook. So too have at least 3 U.S. states. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Washington.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy. Winds are moderate, blowing from the east at a speed of 13 miles per hour. Seas are moderate to locally rough, with swells reaching up to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution. The weather forecast for today predicts partly sunny skies and fair to partly cloudy skies in general, with only a slight chance of showers tonight. Sunset today will be at 6:22 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:12 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.